whatever I start looking, like if I walk, right? When I walk, I move my right foot forward, my left foot is back. And then I keep repeating this thing. And I also notice that my arms don't stay still, right? If I walk like this, it's a very not organic, realistic way. My arms swing a little bit, stuff like that. You can record yourself is a good way of doing this. And like look at how your bones move and then try to mimic that in your animation. If you're not doing a humanoid character, things get a little bit more tricky. One thing I would say is find frame of references of any living being, because like if you look at a video of something natural, it's a lot better than trying to like imagine it in your head. And the thing is, whatever you're actually animating doesn't have to be the same as what you're drawing. So for example, a really good one actually is mechs, right? Like these robot mechs. Sometimes you see them having like 4 legs, like a spider, or like they walk around. I'm going to show a GIF of that later, but like they walk around in like a spider-like behavior. So for something like that, you can just watch a video of like how a spider moves and notice like it moves its 2 legs forward and then eventually the other legs catch up to it, stuff like that. For stuff that's completely unnatural, right? I would say think about what like the feeling you're trying to convey is, right? If you want to make something this is like a lot more to like artistic principles, so I'm not really like well versed in this, but if you want to make something seem big and scary, right? You want to use maybe like colors that like give danger, like red or like black or something like that, and make the actual thing look big in its keyframes. Once you get the key poses like sorted out, then the rest is like really, really simple. But yeah, yeah, hopefully that answered the question. Any other questions, or yeah, I'll just leave you all to discuss if there isn't. Okay.
Into obviously more game dev stuff, talking about like calculation techniques. Yeah, it's very cool.
Also, if I've been speaking too fast, so someone just let me know, because I have a habit of like speaking really, really fast. If there's anything that I've gone through really quickly, just let me know and I can go through that again.
Contour well. I recently had to sign something, and I recently added 1 extra squiggle, so it didn't even look like a W anymore. I'll just do my initials. I don't realize there's like more nuance to it as well. Like you can like go to VO or like just like straight lines. So there's a shape to it. And not just
So initially, I was going to give like a few more minutes, but what I think we've decided to do is we're going to like go through the second half of this presentation, and after that, we're going to have like a quick hands-on type of activity, just because there's a lot of time left. So without further ado, I'll go to the next section. This one has a lot of like interactive demos, and this is one of my favorite like types of animation. So again, apologies if I go really, really fast, because I really enjoy this kind of animation. And it's procedural animation. So Procedural animation is basically any animation that's related to code and not like direct drawing of the actual frame-by-frame motions. This is one of my favorite games, Rain World, and it uses procedural animation because you can see that the way the slug, like the thing's called a slug cat, and these other things are lizards, you can see that the way they move is not really something that you could capture well if you try to draw them frame by frame, right? It's reacting to the environment. When he walks on slopes, he like becomes like tilted, stuff like that, right? And you can see how like the way the lizards move, none of that feels like it was made hand drawn, right? It all feels in a little bit more organic. Yeah, next one. Yeah, so procedural animation is called that because it uses procedures, and procedures are just like another fancy way of saying code, right? It requires a little bit of like math and geometry stuff, like knowledge to know, just so you understand what's going on behind the scenes, but I'll kind of like simplify most of it for you. Where could it be useful is an important thing to like keep in mind, because procedural animation comes with a lot of like overhead. You have to set up a lot of things. So use it when you are doing something, when you know very well that a key component of your game is going to look really good if it's procedurally animated. You don't want to procedurally animate like a bullet that the player fires like a few times and then forgets about, right? That's just so much work that you put in for nothing. So again, you use it when it's like a key aspect of your game. For example, in that Stick Fight the game, I believe, all those characters are procedurally animated, right? They're using force-based animation, which I'll cover in a second. But you can see that like it's a key gimmick of the game, right? Like the way you're moving around is like the way a stick figure moves, and you're like hitting and colliding with stuff, and you get into like goofy poses. So that's all like an important aspect of the game, and that's why they decided to procedurally animate it. So the actual animation style is divided into 3 subcategories. If you go on the internet, they'll have like different names, and some of them will be merged. So I just kind of divided in the way I thought was best. So you have physics-based, constraint-based, and kinematics-based. Physics-based is like exactly as the name suggests. What you do is you take whatever game engine you're using to animate these things, and you start applying physics forces to it, right? So let's say if I take my hand, for example, I'll apply like a collider to it, so that then if it hits a box or something, it'll collide against that, and it'll bounce off, right? And then what you do after that is you apply forces into specific areas. The most prominent example of this is ragdoll physics, where they take like a humanoid character and they instantly make him from like not procedurally animated into physics-based procedural animation, where now all his legs, all his like limbs go limp, and because they're like completely at the mercy of the physics engine, so he just starts like falling down because there's no force keeping him upright, right? And you get a lot of funny, goofy poses, but it's also really hard to get a lot of control when you're doing physics-based animation because, like it says, you don't have a lot of freedom because you're at the mercy of the physics engine, right? If your physics engine decides your arm should be bent completely behind your back, like in a way that's not normal at all, that's the way it's going to look because you don't have much of control over that. You can add a few more constraints, and that actually brings me to the next section, which is, oh, well, yeah, a lot of math is involved here, so just heads up. Yeah, so constraint-based animation, right? As the name suggests, you use constraints. And there are 2 main constraints that you want to use, and with those 2 constraints, you can create almost any type of motion you want. And that's distance constraints and angle constraints. Okay, so this is my really shitty drawing of like what I wanted to explain. But let's say you have 2 points, right? You have, okay, 3 points. But let's say you start with this point T, right? That's your target point, and you have a point P up over there, right? What you want, if you put a distance constraint, what you're saying is that point P must be within some distance of your target, right? And that distance is a circular radial distance, right? If I say point P must always be within 5 meters of the target T, then it can be anywhere along this circle. Let's say the circle is also radius 5 meters. It can be anywhere along the circle and still fit that constraint. It can also be inside the circle and fit the constraint. But the moment it goes outside, that's when it no longer fits that constraint. And the reason they're called constraints is because now you have to do something to make that condition hold again. So one thing you could do, for example, is if P is over here, add a force that immediately slingshots it back up until it's back inside the circle, right? And an angle constraint is basically the same thing, but now for angles and rotation instead of distance, right? It's saying that like Q must, let's say Q has the same distance constraint and also an angular constraint, right? So now Q can be anywhere in the circle, but because of this angular constraint, it must be within only from here to here, right? And using those two constraints, you can get a lot of stuff. And let me just show a quick example of what I mean by this. So I'm going to open up Godot. Hopefully nothing breaks. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, so I have two nodes. Is it showing up there? Okay. I have two nodes, right? And I have this anchor node and like this other target point, right? If I move my anchor node around, right, you can see how the target point starts following it, right? So if this dot, this white dot is the target point, is the point that has the distance constraint. And as I move this around, the target follows it until it's somewhat inside that circle. If it's inside the circle and I move it, nothing happens. The moment I try to leave it, it tries to follow it, so it always stays inside the circle. And another important thing is, I can change this around. If I move the node around, whoops, hang on, I'm moving that. Oh wait, no, yeah, if I move the node around, I can only stay within, if I try to move it two back, it gets like slingshotted back. So it can only stay within some like radial distance of the anchor point. So it can work both ways, right? And the reason this type of behavior is so desirable or so nice is because when you have just 2 points, it doesn't really do much, right? Let's say I have a lot more than 2 points, right? Let's say I create 20 circles and they're all constrained to each other. And what will happen is, so this is like my constraint, this yellow square that hopefully you guys can see. Oh, it's really small over there. Okay. Is this better? Can you guys see that clearly? I'm just like, it's kind of not that great. Everyone can see? Okay. This yellow square thing is my target point. And this point here is the thing that I've applied the distance constraint on, right? So I have to be within this circle. The moment I start the simulation, right, and you can see only one, but if I've connected a lot of them, you can see that the first circle is constrained to that target. The second circle is constrained to the first circle. The third is constrained to the second. And I get this chain. And it looks a lot like a worm or a snake type object, right? And it moves in a really nice, controlled, and organic way. And what I can do now is, if I disable the circles, and I just create like a curve that follows it, it's not the smoothest snake, but it is a snake, and it moves in a really nice way. What I can also do is adjust this thing called the damping factor, which is like how much it should move in response to that constraint. So right now it's at 1. Let's say I move it to like 0.3. Let me also make my snake a bit bigger. So let's say I give him 20 segments, and they're all of size 50, right? Hopefully this works. Okay, so you get a snake. And now notice if I do a really sudden change, the circles take a bit of time to follow. They don't immediately follow, right? And you can use this kind of behavior to do a lot of things. It doesn't just have to be a snake. Chains, for example, are a really good way of you can do this, because when you pull something on the chain, you might have like a little bit of tension before everything starts like locking together in place. But you can change this, and the main advantage of these code-based animations is all I have to do now is just change my damping constraint or change the number of segments, and suddenly I have a whole like different animation. So which is why I really, really enjoy procedural animation. And you can see if I hide this, now you get like a long, like slinky kind of like snake. Obviously, there are some things that look a bit weird. Like if I try to bring him in towards himself, you get this really weird behavior. So that's why you would be using angle constraints to like stop that. So that's that. The next one is kinematics based. And this is where the math, like there's a lot of math behind the scenes, but I'm not going to cover it because it's really complicated and even I didn't understand it. Let's say, like I said before, you have your anchor point, right? This has like a distance constraint, for example. And this also has a distance constraint. And this point over here is constrained to my target. So it always tries to go towards the target. If I've linked them in such a way that I have these two constrained to each other and one can't move, what I get is something called a joint, okay? Where it's like, it's quite literally really similar to how like the human body's anatomy works with like two bones. These are actually called bones. And this thing here is called like a joint, for example, right? So I can move it in like anywhere I want. But the kinematics-based approach is you get these things called kinematic solvers, and what they do is they try to find the best combination of angles and distances such that your thing is always touching the target. So you can see, even if I move it around, this thing changes its angle, right? Or this thing changes its angle, or they all move in some combination, so I can always be as close as I can to that target. Okay, I'm going to show this one again. Sorry, Hans. Hopefully this one loads as well. So let's see. Okay, right. So this is in Godot, and this is different from different things. But most game engines have this bone skeletal system that you can use. So I have this bone here, and I have this bone that's connected, and it's connected because it's a child of this bone. So I have these two bones that are connected to each other, and I have this thing that's like the tip. So if I move my target around, right? Oh wait, I think my bones are a bit messed up. Let me just fix that. Okay, so you can see that the moment when I clicked enable here, right, what I did was I actually started the simulation. If I let it go, like it goes back to its default state. And you can see over here, I don't know if it shows it probably. You can see the CCDIK, which is a type of kinematic solver. Right? There are different types that have slightly different quirks, but CCDIK is a good one. What it does is it takes a tip, which is like this tip of this bone here, and it takes target, and it tries to make the bones orient themselves such that this tip is always as close to the target as possible. So I move this target inside the circle. Oh wait, sorry, let me stop the simulation. If I move it inside the circle, it will rotate in such a way such the tip is always touching it, right? If I bring it inwards, it tries its best to do it, right? And like this is the furthest it can go, right? But I can also do it like over here where it turns in such a way. And this gives you a lot of extra like freedom. I'm just going to check if I've, yeah, okay. There's two types of kinematics. There's forward and inverse. So forward is basically saying, let's say like my bone, like my arm is an example of a skeletal structure, right? I have like my shoulder, my elbow, and my hand, right? What I can do now is if I move my shoulder like upwards, right? My knee, sorry, not my knee, my elbow and hand move along with it, right? Which, you know, that sounds obvious when I say it, but if I'm coding something like that, that is something I have to like make sure that actually happens. When I move my parent, which is my shoulder, I want my child's, which is my elbow and hand, to move along with it. And that's an example of forward kinematics, where you move a base, which is like here is my shoulder, and my child bones follow along with it, right? The opposite of this is inverse kinematics, which, as the name suggests, it's the inverse, because what you're doing now is I'm taking, like, let's say my arm is completely limp, right? I'm taking, like, something is grabbing hold of the tip of my hand, so like my fingers, for example, right? And as I move it up, you can see my elbow and shoulder move along with it, right? Again, this is obvious when I'm saying it, but when you're actually making this in your game, it's actually really annoying to do. So I want, so that whenever I move this, my elbow and shoulder, which are the parent of this, should be moving in such a way that it can always like get as close as it as possible, right? And again, you have some constraints here because unless I'm superhuman, I can't move my elbow backwards, right? Like I can only move from here all the way up to here. So I have an angle constraint. I also have a distance constraint, which is the length of my arm, right? And if we ignore the shoulder one, because the shoulder technically you get like all these degrees of freedom, but let's say I can only move my shoulder like that, right? So then I can only move it like roughly like up to this much, right? That's another angle constraint. So you can mimic like these really complicated movements using really, really basic constraints. And the inverse kinematic solvers. And I'm going to show you a demo that hopefully works. It was working when I tried it, but yeah. Okay, so this is just, I mean, it looks like a mess, but it's a lot of these bones, right? And these bones are connected to some targets, and the targets move. But you notice if I start moving my target, right? Let me see if I can hide the, I'm not sure if I can hide the, maybe I can't. Okay, that's fine. You can see as I move the top of my thing, my like arms, legs, whatever you want to call this, because I think this is more like a spider creature thing. My arms start to follow it, right? And it does this in like these little steps that are kind of similar to how a spider moves. Okay, some of the limbs are a bit weird, But what you can do with this is now when I move it, I don't have to create an animation for the spider to walk. I just move this target wherever I want it to move, and my spider will follow along with it. I know right now the spider looks kind of disfigured, but you get the point, hopefully. Hopefully that GIF explains it a lot better, where in the inverse kinematics, they're moving the tip and the rest of the blue arm is following along. The next slide. Yeah, and here's another example where, again, if I move the shoulder, the rest should follow, right, in forward kinematics. But in inverse kinematics, I just have to move my hand bone, and the other two automatically reconfigure themselves to make this work. Okay, next slide. Yeah, this is really interesting, but it's also really complicated. So here are some resources that I found. You can check them out on YouTube, and I'll put these links in the Discord at some point when I'm done with this workshop. But I really recommend, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, check these 2 videos out. They're really, really useful. Okay, next. I think, yeah, this is probably the last section, which is all the other animation techniques. Because I only covered 2 in this presentation, but there's a lot of that I can't really cover because of just how big and how different they are. So stop motion is a good one, where what you're doing is you're taking a real life reference, and you're you move whatever you're referencing a little bit, you take a photo. You move it again a little bit, you take a photo. Every photo is your frame, so you're basically doing a very complicated frame by frame animation, right? Stop motion, it usually takes a lot of effort and time, but you get a really nice, distinct aesthetic feel with it. Claymation especially. So claymation is just stop motion, but you're using clay to animate things. There's this game called Hylix that uses claymation, and it has a really, really surreal, like trippy kind of art style because of that. Yeah, so stop motion is intensive. You get this authentic style. Here are some images of like stop motion. Yeah, so the next one is, these are more interesting. So motion capture is like the gold standard in the sense that you get as realistic to human because you're literally mimicking a human, right? But it's also very expensive because you need like these recording like pods, or I don't know the actual name, like these balls that you attach to your joints so that you can mimic them. You can see like those little red dots. And that's expensive to get. And then you also need like a way to capture that, and that's expensive. It all adds up. But there are a lot of kind people who have already done this kind of stuff and released their animations for free. So they've been motion captured, and you can like use them and edit them the way however you want. So one good place for this is Mixamo. It has like, it's a huge library of 3D humanoid motion capture animations. So if you're ever making a 3D game, you would definitely go and check that place out. It's really good. And rotoscoping is, I think, one of my favorite animation techniques aesthetic-wise, because what you're doing is you're taking motion capture and you're combining it with stop motion, where I'm still looking at a human person or like something real, right? And I'm still basically recording them frame by frame. But instead of actually using like these little balls, I just trace over them on their outline. There's this horror game called Faith, the Unholy Trinity. It does this really, really well. So hopefully the video plays. You can see that guy, right? It's mimicking him, but it's doing it in this really, really creepy like aesthetic, right? And obviously on the left, he looks like goofy as hell. But when you actually trace it out and you add like a lot of sound or you change some things left and right, you get this really, really cool aesthetic feel. So if you're interested, you should check out the game. It's called, I think, Faith, the Unholy Trinity. I think that's everything. Yep. So thank you all for listening. This workshop went a lot faster than I thought it would. But there's a feedback form over there. If you can please like just scan with your phone, give any feedback, that would be greatly appreciated. And I think we have some extra stuff, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay. Garlic Forward event, you know, I was yapping all this animation stuff. This is your chance to actually put it to use. It'll all be frame by frame animation, but there'll be a ton of people. You can like test out your animation skills, practice your art, all that. And yeah, and there's free drinks. So that's great. And this was just a funny like thing that I saw from the template. I just thought I'd keep it. Okay, I'll just keep the feedback form up, so if anyone has any feedback, they can give that, because it's really appreciated, and it makes us happy when we get feedback. Taha has some event that he was planning. I think he's just going to come back from praying. And I think it involved just like, just doing these examples by hand. But yeah.
What?
Oh, you said you wanted to try the iPad?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can connect the bloody iPad, but I can try using the
document
camera.
camera. Oh, okay.
I don't know if it'll get picked up by OBS.
Does it see that? It probably won't.
Doctor stuff.
Oh shoot, yeah. Wait, how do I
Yeah, true. Adjust it.
zoom out?
Face.
That's not.
Maybe
Put my iPad there. What does it look like?
Oh shit.
It's not. Okay, hold on. Sorry, tech issue.
You know, just increase this.
Well, it's very cool. I can just do it like in the middle there.
How do lecturers use this thing? What the hell?
I don't know. I mean, they bring it. They usually use it for like very close by. It's alright.
Yeah.
I think.
Can you see that? Oh, okay. Oh, you zoom. Oh, okay.
Oh, nice. Alright.
Out of focus now.
Is it?
More out of focus. It's way more out of focus right now.
You can actually just use that cable to cast your screen, actually.
Oh, can you?
That one.
On the iPad, it's not connected.
Is it Type-C?
No, there isn't. There's only Thunderbolt.
Okay.
Stupid.
Wait, mine's Thunderbolt.
Oh, okay.
Is it actually Thunder? No, not that one. Sorry. I have like the other. I think I missed it. Okay,
Not
is it here?
lightning.
Is
It's
it
not
here?
lightning. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, that works.
Yeah. That's fair enough. All right. Can you gang hear me?
Okay, it's got Diomo, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Thank you. All right. All right. This is just a thing, like in case we had extra time, because a lot of times our workshops go over time. But I'm very happy that we do have extra time. So I just want to give a thank you to Sujay for the previous workshop and all the work he put in. Thank you very much. Yeah. So now that we have time, I'll go over just an example, and I think I'd like if everyone was able to download an animation software and actually try some animation yourself. So if you have your iPad with you, you can download this app called Flipperclip to start animating. Or if you have your laptop, you can download this thing called Pixie Editor. So I'll give you a bit of time while I try to see if I can put this thing. Oh shoot, I can. That's insane. Okay, so this is on the recording now. Okay. Yeah, so Flipperclip, if you're on iPad, and if you're on PC, I'll show this thing called Pixie Editor. If you have Steam, you can download it off Steam. Funnily enough. Let me switch to the computer real quick. Yeah, so I just searched up Pixie Editor, and it's this one here. It has a bunch of different features, but it does also do animations. And I've tried it out. It's pretty all right. I'll download it here actually. Never mind. I don't think I can. I don't think I'm allowed to.
How will that you? Okay, fine, yeah.
Back to iPad. But yeah, so if you're on PC, you can get Pixie Editor, or if you're on iPad, you can pop up Flipperclip, and you'll get something like this. So, yeah, let's make a simple animation. I can practice some of the stuff that Sujay brought up earlier. So let's have something simple. We can try using pose to pose, which is that idea of like having certain keyframes that you want to get to and then doing the in-betweens later. And I'll do that by, does anyone have any ideas of a funny animation they want? Because I'm thinking of like the GMC cat eating a toaster. is what's on my head right now. Now I'm not, I know a bit about animation, but I usually do pixel art. So this is a bit of a limitation to me, but say this is the cat, right? We got the little cat here. And, okay, that's not. And it has its funny little tail. And we got like the silly goofy eyes of the GMC cat. Let's say it's looking at the toaster, right? Toaster somewhere over in this direction. It got the little goofy smile. The little goofy like cat lines. This is the cat, right? And we'll put the toaster here. Now, well, I guess in the context of a game, you won't really have like two things on the same thing, but this is just a good way to show how the principles of animation works, and you can extend it to like games and whatnot. So this is the cat and the toaster. I hope that's clear. And I'll add another frame here. So if you see like that kind of thing, you can still see the previous drawing, but it's a bit faded out. That's something called onion skin, where while you're animating, you can see a bit of the previous frame, so you have a reference for where the next one should be. So, it's a bit intimidating to just go straight to the next image, right? Because there's a lot of things to keep in mind, like squash and stretch and whatnot. So that's what pose to pose helps with. Let's say the next pose, like the toaster's probably unchanged. It's a static object. But the cat will be like trying to jump. And so this is kind of like animatics. If anyone's seen all those musical animatics kind of vibe, an animatic is kind of like a pose to pose, but with like arrows showing like where the next one's gonna be. Okay, wait, that's kind of something like this. And then the head's kind of like that. It's kind of whack, right? Because it got that exaggeration. What the hell? Okay, hold on. Whoa. The eyes are like bleeding out. It goes out of frame. Okay, so you got that. You got that. And it's like it's like a spring right now. The cat is like springing. And then it's gonna jump up. If it's an animatic, you draw an arrow, but we're gonna do like the full animation here, so I don't think we need like the arrows. It's a pretty simple one. So now it's squished, and then eventually it's gonna go there. Actually, I'll leave in the arrow for now. Can I? Oh yeah, I can make a layer for arrows, so the cat will now go there. Or shoot, what's funnier is if the cat goes all the way up, and then after that it comes down and then noms on the toaster. So the last pose, okay, no, the next one would be like the cat. The cat will be up, and then I guess fairly enough, the last one will just be the cat devouring the toaster. I don't know what the back of the cat's head looks like. We have not designed the back of the character. Shoot. Maybe.
You could do it like its mouth opens up, so it's like it's upside down, and it opens up, and its eyes are looking down.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. Okay, I got it. So we got like the iconic M hat here. Oh, what the hell? Wait, everything's upside down. Okay, hold on.
You could draw it normally and then flip it if you want.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. Like this. Right. We got the M hat. And we got like the eyes of the cat here. And it's just going wild. Oh my god, nom nom nom. Meow yum. It goes there. And bloody hell.
His mouth will probably be upwards because if you flip him around, you want him to like eat downwards.
Yeah, the mouth will be like it'll be wacky. It goes all the way out. It stretches the cheek beyond comprehension. I'm thinking, so that's, now this might look weird in of itself, but if anyone remembers that really weird frame that went viral from Naruto where the guy was like stretched out of proportions, that's like that kind of exaggeration you get in animation. And so maybe since the toaster's big, like the cat will like gain the form of the toaster. Oh, and this is a good place to like show the stretch, because like the cat is going down from so far, it'll like stretch up, you know? Okay, sorry. And then and then the last one will just be a frame of the cat with the toaster inside its stomach. So I can edit the onion frame to show a few more frames. If you do too many, it can be, what the hell? I'm not starting a 7-day free trial. Never mind. Never mind. I'll do that another time. So I just want to draw the cat happy again. Whoop, whoop. There. Okay. That's kind of whack, but it'll do. And then there's the cat. Its cheeks are like a bit puffy. Its eyes are God knows where. And then there'll just be a toaster inside its belly. So, oh shoot. Okay, there we go. So this is, it'll have the little cat patterns at the side as well. So yeah, these are now our points. Okay, wait, this one, the head is a bit small. I can fix that later. So these are like the different poses, right? Pose-to-pose animation. We've got the different poses, and all we have to make now are the in-betweens. So since I know the toaster isn't moving and the cat's gonna be a little silly here, I can just be like, okay, between that and that, what fits, you know? What goes in between? How do I move it? Hold on, that's not the right button. Erase. Oh, I'll remove. I'll go here and I'll click and then I'll click add. Nope, that's the wrong direction. Add here. There we go. Finally. Oh my god, I've been on the second layer this entire time. It's, well, that's that. So yeah, I can just see here. Okay, so the one in the middle should be like a little bit compressed, but he's not like that crazy yet. Maybe his tail goes a bit longer. Maybe it's, I don't know, sorry, I've been saying his. The cat does not have a defined gender, at least to my knowledge. The cat is purely brain dead. There you go. Oops.
A quick reminder that like frame-based animation, it takes a lot of time. So, yeah.
I hope, yeah. How's everyone's animations going? We can do a bit of small talk. All right. Bam, and then just you could probably use another one at the right. So that's down there. I think the hat shrinks. Well, oops. There. The eyes kind of veer closer to the toaster. They also get kind of wider. Oop. And then shoop. Oops. Can't forget, it's kind of squashing a bit already. Getting a bit of crease lines. Bloop, 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 bloop. And now we're gonna draw it jumping. So I didn't. So now it just goes straight up. I don't have to worry so much about doing like. Yeah, I mean the cat's gonna be like out of frame. I'm imagining. So it just goes straight up. And here, cause like we've got a bit of anticipation at the start there with like the cat squishing and it's like going crazy right now. So we can just do a frame that shows it like really, really high up already, all the way to show that like, oh shoot, the cat's like mad, right? So I'll put the M all the way up here. And it'll be long because it's like, it's going so fast. Its eyes are still like cocaine filled. Mm. And could be longer. The tail's going crazy as well. Wait. Over here, I forgot the tail. Bam, can't forget the toaster. Seems like in this story, the toaster is the protagonist and the cat is the antagonist. That's an important. Why am I on layer 2? Okay, I'll remove the arrows. Okay, so now we got this, 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 this. Okay, wait. I'll do another one where like you just see like the tail of the cat that like out of frame. Bam. Right? Toaster. Add another one. What's just the toaster? Oh, I put this in the wrong place. Hold on, let me erase that. Yeah, this one's just the toaster, sorry. And, okay, so now the cat is completely out of frame. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna have a number of frames where it's just the toaster. So I'm gonna copy this just because like we don't need to redraw the toaster again and again. So I'll just copy, paste, 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 maybe 6. And then yum. I can do like blur lines. I should do a few in betweens there. So I'll add one here where, so after it grabs it, I'm trying to imagine the motion right now. After the cat swallows the toaster whole,
Up a bit, like I'm trying to imagine where it like goes down and then like the toaster goes up and then like comes back down. Yeah, that makes like no
No,
sense.
no, because I don't think that, I don't know if I want the cat to bounce. I'm thinking, what if it goes there, and then, yeah, exactly. So it just stays there for a bit, and then it stands up, and you can see like the toaster body. Cracks in the floor.